How about something like this?
I spent over five.
My banksters, welcome to the bank. You here with the teller, or out the bank. Follow me as I follow money. It's dive deep and get rich. This video I'm reviewing today is I spent $500,000 on gurus, and here's what I learned. This is by Dan Henry. I like Dan Henry. He has some pretty good content. Yeah, so let's see what we talk about today.
I spent over $500,000 on gurus and coaches in the last 5 years. I'll share with you some of the biggest lessons I learned so you don't have to spend that much, because there's some things I think you should know. I'll start with the smallest one and work my way up to the biggest investment I ever made, and I'll share what I learned from them so you can save yourself some money. And lastly, I will summarize everything into one big lesson so that you don't have to drop $500,000. So the first investment was only $7, and it was one of the best ones, and here's why. It was an old internet marketing book by Russell Brunson. And at the time, I wasn't even reading books. This was literally the first book I ever read that wasn't like a kid's book that I read as a child. And the only reason I even bought this book was because I remembered back to some advice I got from a billionaire. I used to work at this sales company, and the guy that owned it, he was a big guy. He was a legit billionaire, owned tons of companies, but he was really cool because he would always sit down and have lunch with all the employees. And one day I got to sit next to him, and I said, "Hey Jeff, I got a question for you. How do I get rich? I want to."
Billionaire buddies named Jeff. I think it's like a few people named Jeff. I'm guessing Bezos. That might be, I don't know. I'm just saying it.
Buy my mom a house, my dad a house. I want to take care of my family. How do I get rich? And he looks at me and he says, "Okay, how many books do you read every single week on money, on business?" And I was like, "I don't read any books on that." And he goes, "How much money have you invested in mentors on money and business?" I said, "None." And he looks at me and he says, "Well, then you're wasting my time, because you don't actually want to get rich." And this cut me deep. And unfortunately, I did not listen to this advice for years until I really needed the money. And that's when I remembered that, and I bought this book for $7. Now, in the book, there was a section.
So, real quick, just the title of it and kind of what he's talking about, books and mentors. The reason for those two is to save time. Because you get to speed up your process. Knowing what you're looking for, knowing what the old adage or the old saying that there's nothing new under the sun. Somebody has done what you're looking to do in some form or fashion, whether it could be somewhat close to it or they did exactly what you did. To some extent, somebody has done it. And if not, there's people or mentors that can kind of point you in the right direction of what you're trying to do. And can save you time. So definitely the whole point of this, the $500,000, if he made a half a ticket, if he spent a half a ticket on gurus and books, he done made way more than that. You can just think about it mathematically. If he has the ability to pay half a ticket, that means he's made more than that to be, and I'm pretty sure if I'm just giving accentuating the little numbers, if he 2 times that, he made $1 million off spending half a ticket. That's a great investment. If I doubled my investment and I made $1 million from spending this money on gurus, that's a great investment. But I'm knowing he probably made damn near 5x. So that. Come on, man, you can't be mad at that. That's a great investment. But that's the whole point of books and the whole point of mentors. Is to help save you time and help, like I always preach, there's 2 things. If you want to be an efficient and effective business owner, you need 2 things: clarity, focus. Once you got those 2, you can conquer a lot of stuff. So, yeah.
And that talked about how to do sales presentations. And at the time, I was trying to sell a $997 online course. So I did what was in the book. I got a bunch of people to this.
So just right off the bat, if he spent $7 and made 1 sale from that book by implementing whatever was in that book, he literally 100 times I mean, a little bit more than that. But I'm just for round numbers. He 100 times his investment. Can't beat that. Can't beat that, not one bit. Instead of him spending a lot of time and a lot of money figuring everything out, trying to do it himself, he would have spent more time and more money trying to do that. Spending the $7 and getting a better framework to speed the learning curve, can't beat that. 100 times your investment. Come on now, more than 100 times his investment.
Zoom webinar, and I made 48 sales. So I made 48 grand in a day. I did it a week later. I made 52 sales. That's a 6-figure month off of a $7 investment because I just did one thing that the book taught me. And the real moral of the story here is most people don't make the money they want to make. They don't have the body they want. They don't have the car they want, the house they want. They don't even have the relationship they want. That's most people. That's the 99%. Only 1% of people have the money and the life. But the funny thing is 99% of people want what the 1% have. So if you want a 1% life, you can't behave like the 99%. The 1% are the 1% because they do 1% things. They read books on how to get rich. They invest in mentorship. They get up at 5 a.m. They eat clean.
They watch while the bank follow the money.
So they can stay focused. They do all this 1% shit so that they can make 1% money. Like, it's not hard to grasp. Unfortunately, I did not grasp it, and that's why I was broke most of my life. The next investment I made was $30,000, and this is where I can save you thousands and thousands of dollars. So when I bought Russell's book, I felt bad that I had made hundreds of thousands of dollars, and later that year, we ended up doing like 2.9 million in that year. So I bought his $30,000 mastermind. Now, this is a group of people who buy into this mastermind. They meet in Boise, Idaho, and they mastermind. They're there to learn from Russell and just elevate their business. And even though I invested 30 grand, I never went. And I never went because I was deathly afraid of flying at the time. I've gotten over it since, but I didn't want to get on a 6-hour flight to go from Florida to Boise, Idaho. So I never went. But I watched the recordings, and here's what I can tell you. When I watched the recordings, I found that they didn't cover anything new in the meetings. It was all in Russell's book. Like, it was all there. There was literally nothing new. And that's when I figured out that there's two types of people that invest in these high-end masterminds. The first type of person is someone who just wants to hang out with the guru. There were people in that group who literally just wanted to hang out with Russell. Now, personally, I find that an incredibly stupid financial decision. I think that's just ridiculous. I don't care who you are. I'm not gonna pay you 30 grand just to hang out with you. That's just dumb. Now, if you wanna do that, if you wanna spend 30 grand to hang out with your favorite somewhat celebrity, knock yourself out. But I ain't doing that. Now, the second type of person is someone who would read the book and then not do what the book said, and they needed to go.
I think it's also a third person. I don't know if he's going to say this too, but I think when you pay that 30 grand as well, or you pay whatever it is to go to the actual mastermind, I think you also get to be around other people that are kind of in this space. So you get to see other people that's in your realm almost. But two, I think you can, I don't know. I've never been to one of these, so don't shoot the messenger, but I believe that you can ask them a little bit more specific question towards whatever it is you're doing. I mean, but at the same time, you can also just pay them as a consultant to do that as well. You don't have to really pay them for your mastermind. So maybe, I don't know, but at least that's what I would think. I would think that's kind of what that's for. Like, you can kind of ask them personal, more specific, targeted question towards whatever it is that you're looking to do. But once again, I think you could just hire them as a consultant for 30 grand. So, yeah.
Go to the mastermind to have Russell tell them, do what the book says. And that is true for literally all masterminds. A guru will come out with either a book or a program that's anywhere from a few dollars to a few $1,000s. So a very reasonable investment. And then they'll have a mastermind that is really just a bunch of people who aren't doing what the book or the program said, and they need the guru to be like, hey, you need to do what I said already that you're only paid a little bit of money for. And I figured out out that the reason for this is they needed to have someone that they respected tell them, yes, do it. And it's because they didn't respect themselves enough. Because if you read a book and you respect yourself, you will listen to yourself and you will do it. But if you don't, then you need somebody else who you respect to be like, yeah, do that thing that you already know you need to do. And this was a huge lesson for me because it made me realize that I could make crazy gains investing in cheap products and just getting over myself and doing the friggin' work. Now, I will say that even though I didn't go to the meetings, I met a lot of people and created lifelong relationships from that group.
And also, I don't know why this just popped up and I just thought about it. I think also, at least he still got the report. He still got to watch what was being said. It'd have been different if they didn't record it at all and he couldn't see anything that they was talking about. I think that'd be definitely different. But yeah, he got to still watch it. He didn't have to spend the extra money to go fly and do all the additional things. He still got to see it and be, essentially be there without being there. So.
Half the people in that group ended up buying stuff from me anyway, so I made my investment back just on that. But from a learning perspective, I think you're good just investing in like the normal stuff. But if you want to network or you want to hang out with your favorite guru, by all means, spend your money. The next investment was $70,000, and this one was tough. There came a point where my business started falling apart because I created a product, it was doing very, very well, and then I got bored. So I started creating more products and more products and more products and more products. And I became so distracted with doing all these different things that my income dwindled every single month down.
And there it goes back to what I just said. The two most important things of a business owner is clarity and focus. He just said it. Once he started losing focus, he started adding more. He got bored, which essentially means he lost focus and started adding things that took away from the meat of what he was saying. Stay focused.
Down to the lowest point it had got to in 2 or 3 years. And that's when I discovered Sam Ovens. And I invested $35,000 in his Quantum Mastermind for 2 years, so that's $70,000. And it was at a time when I had literally the least amount of cash in the bank. And so I needed help the most. So I fly up to New York and I go to this mastermind and I'm thinking, okay, now I'm gonna learn this stuff. Sam, he's all, I'm Sam, I'm smarter than you because I have this New Zealand accent.
If you like horses, that doesn't mean that you should be a horse.
So I get there, in the first 3 hours, all he's talking about is diet. Literally, like what you're eating for mental clarity. And I'm like, why did I just pay all this money to talk about diet? But I'm looking around the room and I'm noticing that the people in that mastermind were at a much higher level than any other mastermind I'd ever been in. And Sam was crushing it. So I got over myself again and decided to listen. And so at one point I asked Sam, like, hey, what should I do? How do I fix this? And he's like, how many products do you have? You know, with this little rubbing of the chin thing he's got going on. And I was like, oh, I got like 11. And he's like, okay, you need to delete 10 and only focus.
Why he raising a voice that sound like Timmer from South Park?
On one. And I'm like, delete 10? Yes. He told me to delete 90% of my products. So I went home after that mastermind and I really thought about it. I said, all right, this is what he said to do. I'm going to do it. I deleted 90% of my products. I focused on one. And within a few months, I was at $500,000 a month in sales, up from only like 60.
Pareto's distribution. That's pretty much what he was just saying. Pareto's distribution. Focus on what most of is working. Is, if I'm not mistaken, it's 80-20. So 80% is just fluff. 20% is what really matters or what people really buy or the workers that really get the work done. So
you're 70. And again, it was because I got to a point where I didn't respect myself. I literally knew I should only focus on one product, but I needed to pay $70,000 to have somebody with a New Zealand accent tell me, focus on one thing. And it was worth it. Now, he also taught me something else that literally changed the game for me, but I'm gonna save that one for the end because it's literally the entire essence of everything I've ever invested in. But the lesson here is, do not invest in mentorship when you are good. Meaning you're making a lot of money, well, then you don't need it. Because if you invest in mentorship, then you might get shiny object syndrome and you might mess up what's working. You need to invest in mentorship when things aren't going well, because that's when you need a course correction. That's when you need help. Most people, they do it backwards. They invest when things are going well. Oh, I got the money. Well, yeah, now you go invest, you listen to some dude and he tells you to do something else and then you screw everything up. Invest when you have the least, not when you have the most, because that's when you need the most help.
Okay. I can see what he's saying for sure, because it fixes you get to hone in on the problem exactly, on what's going wrong or what isn't really working. You get to hone in on that, and you can buy that consulting or whatever it is to fix that specific problem. I would definitely say it might be a small caveat to that, because you definitely want to have some type of mentorship while you're going up, at least. At least that's I would think that. I would think you still would want something that is somebody kind of continuously kind of like helping you, I guess, hone in your thinking ability and that type of thing. I think that's why you got like Tony Robbins. He's like a coach, a performance coach. You still got those type of things. I don't know if that's. I don't know. He might think the same or feel differently, but I think you still need something or some type of, because how do you go? Well, I'm not going to say how do you go to the next level, but I'm just thinking going to the next level, you would need, you could essentially do it yourself, but I could see just having that type of mentorship or having somebody around you that kind of like pokes holes in the way that you think to go to another level. At least I would think that. So. But I could be wrong, nonetheless.
The next investment was $50,000, but it was for only a 2-day event. And here's why it was worth it. Several years ago, I got asked to speak at an event held by a guy named Dana Derricks. Now, I thought there was gonna be like 200-300 people at this event. And so I get to the hotel, I get to the room, and there's like 15 people. And I'm like, oh my God, what the heck? And I felt worse for Dana, who was the guy that was running the event, because I knew he was going to be selling something at the end of the event. And I thought, how's he going to make any money? There's only 15 people here. That's when I met a guy named Myron Golden. So I get up on stage, I do my thing, I teach
Myron.
all this technical tactics and really good stuff. And after my speech, Myron comes up to me and says, man, you're a really good speaker. You should really do this more. You should make a thing out of it. And I was like, oh, thanks, And I took that compliment seriously because I heard from Russell Brunson and several other people that Myron was like the best speaker in the world. He was the best stage seller in the world. So I was really excited to see his speech. So he gets up on stage, which the stage was just standing in front of a bunch of people sitting down. And this dude starts talking about the craziest stuff, like birds flapping and mama bears and planting seeds in the ground, just all this weird stuff that had nothing.
He definitely uses a lot of metaphors and similes. He definitely does. But nonetheless, you can't take nothing away from Myron Golden. He is really good at what he does. I love listening to what he talks about.
Nothing to do with business, had nothing to do with marketing. It was, to my ears, just complete gibberish. And I thought this guy was bombing. And I was like, why does everybody think this guy's so good? I don't understand. But then came the part where he pitched Dana's product. Dana had already pitched and made like no sales. Now Myron had spoken and now was saying, hey, you should buy Dana's product. Myron pulls over $200,000 in sales out of a room of 15 people. And I see this happen and I'm like, what the hell just transpired? So after the event, I go up to Myron and I'm like, hey man, can you teach me how to do that? I don't know what you just did, but can you teach me how to do it? So he's like, yeah, I have a 2-day event where I teach you how to do it. It's $50,000. And I'm glad I bought it then because I think that same event now is 200 grand. So I go to this event and I'm thinking, okay, this is 50 grand. This is going to be great. Like, it's going to be awesome. And it literally was just Myron in this little hotel conference room with a whiteboard. There were no slides. There was a workbook, but it wasn't like super organized. And I was expecting like everything to be laid out easy peasy for me. And it wasn't. It was literally him just talking and me taking notes. And that blew my mind. But I was like, okay, I'm here. I've got to pay attention, I'll take notes. So I go home and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hold an event, I'm gonna get people there, I'm gonna speak, and I'm gonna make some money. Well, then COVID happens. And I can't do an event. And everybody's stuck at home. It's literally right at the beginning. So I call Myron and I'm like, hey man, I don't know what to do. I had an event planned. Should I cancel it? And he's like, no, just do it on Zoom. I'm like, do it on Zoom? I had all this stuff planned. I had pyrotechnics and blah, 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 blah. No, but do it on Zoom. So I get one camera in my dining room on Zoom.
Simplicity. I'm gonna add that. There's three things. One, simplicity. Make things simple.
Zoom with nothing but a whiteboard, no slides. And I had 158 people come to that presentation. And I was selling my own $30,000 mastermind. And I sold 34 spots and did over $1 million in a single.
Steve Jobs called it the simple stick.
And I sold 34 spots and did over $1 million in a single freaking day. And I was like, what? And I remember my father telling me, why would you spend $50,000 on a 2-day event? Like, I thought I taught you better. Are you crazy? And that's because my dad was not taught about money. My other friends who are entrepreneurs, they said, wow, Dan, you turned a $50,000 investment into over $1 million. That's dope. But the thing is, I thought Myron sucked when I first saw him speak. And the lesson here is don't invest based on what you think works because you don't know shit. Invest on what works. So even though my perception of Myron was this sucks, I got over that. I invested and I learned why what he did works. Now, did any of these gurus scam me? Yes. In the total of the $500,000 I spent, there was one investment where I spent about 30 grand on coaching and IG shoutouts, meaning buying shoutouts from other Instagram pages to grow my following so I could then sell the followers on my products and services. This guy totally screwed me because not only were all the followers I got just complete garbage, but I didn't even get what was promised. And I ended up arguing with the guy and getting a full refund. And the only reason I got a full refund was because at that point I had a name in the industry and he knew if I said something publicly, he was screwed. I can't imagine what it's like for people who don't have a name who get screwed at that level. So be very, very careful who you invest in and try to make sure that someone else you know or that you can connect with worked with that person, has got results, and they're not getting anything from telling you that it works. They're not getting an affiliate commission. They're not getting a referral fee. And a big lesson here is the best gurus will not tell you you will make money. They actually will tell you you won't make money. I personally, whenever I teach people to make money doing the things I know how to do, I say, listen, most people won't make money with this because you won't do it. It's not easy, it's hard. That's why you need my help. I'm very wary of anyone who says, oh yeah, you're gonna make all this money. No, BS. Because what if you don't do anything? Then you won't. So the first red flag of someone who is dishonest is someone who promises you you will make money. Now, I don't want you to get scammed and I don't want you to have to spend that much on gurus. So here's 5.
I think that's really good advice. It was a book that I read, Robert Kiyosaki, Who Took My Money? And it was one question that he said he usually asks people is, can you guarantee it? And that question forces people to like give a yay or nay or like to confirm or deny. And good people, like essentially what he's saying is good gurus or the best gurus or the best mentors usually tell you it's all about how you apply it. Essentially, because we can do the same thing and it not work because you didn't put in. I think Alex Hormozy said this. You can do something. The test size really could be 10,000. You only did 1,000. It won't work if you just do 1,000. If you do 1,000 sales when the test size is really 10,000, it won't work. So I think it's the same thing. If you do this or if you put this in motion or put it in action, it will work to the extent that you work. So I think that's great advice. I don't think that's any bullshit there. So.
$500,000 worth of advice condensed into 1 minute. So in my second year of being in Sam Ovens' mastermind, I fly to New York, I sit down, and guess who comes in and sits down next to me? Alex Becker. So we start chatting it up and exchange numbers, and he was only there for maybe an hour or two. And at one point, me and Sam start having a debate on tracking. Tracking meaning knowing where your sales are coming from different traffic sources on the internet. And Becker starts listening to this very intently. All of a sudden, gets up and walks out of the mastermind and just doesn't come back. So I text him and I'm like, dude, where'd you go? And he's like, I'm getting on a plane. I'm out. I got what I need. I'm like, what do you mean you got what you need? He's like, I got it. I got everything I need. I don't need to be there anymore. Okay. 6 months later, Becker texts me. He's like, hey, can you hop on Zoom? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I get on Zoom and he's like, hey man, I want to show you this software that we made. It's in like early beta right now, but I just want to get some of your feedback and see what you think about the features. And the software is called Hyros. So I get on Zoom with Becker for like 2 or 3 hours and he shows me all these wireframes and features and all this stuff for this software called Hyros. And we chit chat, I give him some feedback, and I assume he did this with multiple marketers. And next thing you know, Hyros is a thing. And a couple of years after that, I see online a news article that says Becker sold Hyros for like $100 million. So think about that. He pays $35,000 to go to a mastermind. He sits down, he hears one thing, he gets up and immediately leaves, goes out and creates a $100 million company. And it was because at that point, he needed a new idea for his next software company. That was the problem that he had. And here's the lesson. Most people just blindly pay for gurus and courses and masterminds, or they pay for access to the guru. God, don't be that guy. Instead, do this. Take action, encounter friction, and then invest in the guru that can help you remove that friction and then rinse and repeat. Because if all you...
So essentially what he pretty much said is have clarity. So start to work on the idea, have clear intent on why you're going to that guru. I think that's essentially what he's saying. Have clear intentions on why you're going to these people. Don't just be going to these people just to be going to these people. Have clear intent on the reason that you're going to see these gurus. Don't just, like he said earlier, don't just go just to hang out, kick it with them. Go because they are solving, well, I guess, so once again, I guess he's right. Go because you have a problem or you have some type of idea or you're looking for some type of inspiration for people in the field that you want to go to, clarity, and then find out whatever it is and then go, like you said, act on it.
You ever invest in is fixing the current problem that's preventing you from getting to the next level. And only that is a systematic way to grow. And speaking of systems, I'm gonna leave you with the number one thing I learned from Sam that allowed me to literally fix any problem in my business and create income anytime I wanted. And this right here is the $500,000 of advice condensed down to just 1 minute. There's a process called systems thinking, and I want you to envision it like a triangle. You have an input, and then you have an output, and then you have analyzation. So in other words, you do something, you see what happens as a result, and then you study that thing and make changes, and then you do it again. So you change the input. A very simple example would be if I create a sales video for one of my products and I send a bunch of people to it. That's the input, right? That the sales video is the input. Let's say 1,000 people watch that sales video and 10 people buy. That's a 1% conversion rate. 1% of people bought after watching the video. Input is the sales video, 1% conversion rate is output. So now I assess and I study what happened and I figure out how can I get that to say 1.5%, 2%. I make a educated guess on how I can do that and I change the input. That could be re-recording the video, editing it differently, whatever. And then I do it again. And then I assess the output. And if I do this enough times, it will go up, 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 up. One time I created a sales video for a program and it completely bombed. It took me 7 versions of that video before it started working. And that ended up making me millions of dollars. Most people would just quit at that first or second video and they would leave millions of dollars on the table because they aren't doing systems thinking. They're doing emotional thinking. Oh my God, the video didn't work, therefore I suck and the world sucks and I should just work at McDonald's. Versus input, output, analyzation. Input, output, Analyzation. I will be a robot because that is how entrepreneurs make money. They don't focus on their feelings. They focus on actual data. You be like that, you're gonna make money. You could even do this with health. You try a diet for 2 weeks, you assess the output, and then you analyze and you change your diet. Blah, 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 blah. Literally, systems thinking will help you in any aspect of your life. Also, check out how I make $100,000 a month on School, which is Sam Ovens' new software, and I'll see you in the next one.
So yeah, I agree with what he's saying. I like this video. It's a good video. You kind of go over everything. Only invest when you are doing bad to fix a problem. Not when you're doing good. Stay focused, pretty much. Essentially, what he was saying, like I said at the beginning of this video, for the most part, you're only paying for books and gurus to help you save time, the learning curve, help you speed up the learning curve. That's essentially what essentially what you're looking while you're going to a guru, to give you some type of clarity on whatever the problem is that you're having, or to help fix problems that are slowing you down or not helping the business. Because these people are above you. These people have done better in this area of your business, and they can give you good guidance towards that. So that's essentially what you're looking at. You're looking at these people because they can offer good advice to help solve your problem. So I think that's a pretty good video. Catch me on the next one. Follow me as I follow money some more. Let's dive deeper and get rich. Also, once again, I will have the notes in. Click the link in the description. I will have all the notes. You can get them in the description, all the notes, and we can go from there. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.